Welcome to the Unraveling the Scriptures channel. Few peoples have left such a profound mark on the tapestry of sacred narrative as the ancient Israelites, also known as Hebrews or later Jews. They are the protagonists of some of the most enigmatic and revered passages of Scripture. Their deeds were proclaimed by prophets, their rituals perpetuated by priests, and their journeys immortalized in scrolls that defy the passage of time. But what do we truly know about them? I'm not just referring to their ancient language or the customs that shaped Judaism. I'm speaking of something deeper, more hidden, something invisible to the eye, yet pulsing in the blood, the genetic origin of this mysterious people. Despite decades of archaeological excavations and theological debates, one question remains cloaked in shadows. Who were the ancient Israelites genetically? And perhaps even more intriguing, which modern Jewish groups today carry the closest genetic legacy of those biblical ancestors? In this video, I invite you to join me behind the scenes of rarely discussed, yet crucial genetic studies that help reconstruct the true identity of the biblical people. Prepare to cross the boundaries of time and science, where DNA and tradition either converge or collide. The enigma of ancient Israelite DNA. Genetic research on Jewish populations plays a vital role in modern population genetics. These studies go far beyond simply tracing the timeline of Jewish migrations. They synthesize findings from complementary disciplines such as history, linguistics, archaeology, and paleogenetics, creating a richer, multidisciplinary view of Jewish ancestry. A central focus of these studies is identifying the origins of the various ethnic divisions within Judaism and investigating the existence of a common genetic lineage, popularly referred to as the hypothetical genetic Abraham. To achieve this, scientists rely on three main types of genealogical DNA tests: autosomal DNA, AtDNA, mitochondrial DNA, mtDNA, and Y chromosome DNA, yDNA. Each method provides unique and complementary insights into the ancestry and genetic formation of Jewish communities. A tDNA, which reflects the genetic inheritance from all of a person's ancestors, has revealed that Jewish populations, though geographically dispersed, form genetically cohesive and relatively isolated groups, yet remain interrelated. One remarkable example is the close genetic affinity shared between Ashkenazi Jews and other Jewish communities around the world. mtDNA and yDNA, on the other hand, provide more precise readings of maternal and paternal lineages, respectively. mtDNA, passed exclusively through mothers, allows for high-precision tracing of maternal ancestry. yDNA, inherited only through males, reveals the pathways of paternal lineage through generations. With the advancement of genetic sequencing technologies, it has become possible to map the deep genetic connections between Jewish populations and other peoples of the Middle East. These advances have significantly expanded our understanding of genetic diversity and the historical trajectories followed by these communities over the centuries. Such discoveries not only offer a more complete view of Jewish group evolution, but also highlight the importance of the dialogue between science and history in reconstructing humanity's journey. The genetic and cultural heritage of Jewish diaspora communities. Recent genetic studies of diaspora, Jewish communities, Ashkenazi, Sephardi, and Mizrahi, reveal a deeply rooted shared ancestry in the Middle East. This common origin serves as a genetic link between the various branches of Judaism, demonstrating an ancestral heritage that endures. Despite the distinct geographic, cultural, and historical paths these communities have followed over the centuries. Focusing on Ashkenazi Jews, it's noteworthy that this is the largest subdivision of the Jewish people. Their historical roots trace back to Central and Eastern Europe, especially in regions such as Germany, Poland, Lithuania, Russia, and surrounding territories. As they migrated and settled in these areas, Ashkenazi Jews developed a unique identity, preserving distinct liturgical rituals and creating their own cultural traditions. One of the most significant markers of this differentiation is the emergence of Yiddish, a language blending elements of Hebrew with Germanic, Slavic, and Aramaic tongues, widely used as a daily language until the 20th century. Beyond language and religion, Ashkenazi Jews have had a profound and lasting impact on the cultural development of Europe. They made significant contributions to fields such as literature, philosophy, music, medicine, physics, and mathematics. Figures like Albert Einstein, Sigmund Freud, and Franz Kafka stand as icons of the Ashkenazi intellectual legacy that helped shape modern thought. This influence was built amid centuries of hardship, including episodes of persecution, pogroms, and the Holocaust, which decimated much of the European Jewish population in the 20th century. Despite these historical adversities, the Ashkenazi Jews demonstrated remarkable resilience and a capacity for renewal. The diaspora experience strengthened their collective identity and fueled a tradition of innovation, education, and social engagement that remains influential today, both within Jewish communities and on the global stage. This shared genetic heritage, combined with a diverse and resilient cultural legacy, makes the Jewish diaspora communities a remarkable case of historical continuity, adaptability, and contribution to human civilization. The Sephardic communities, Iberian heritage and historical resilience. Sephardic Jewish communities have historical roots deeply intertwined with the Iberian Peninsula, especially in what is now Spain and Portugal, as well as regions of North Africa and the Middle East. The term Sephardic comes from Sepharad, the ancient Hebrew name for Spain, reflecting this group's strong historical and cultural connection to the Iberian world. For centuries, Sephardic Jews flourished in the Iberian Peninsula, making substantial contributions to the arts, sciences, and philosophical thought of the time. However, this period of coexistence came to an abrupt end in the late 15th century, with the onset of the Inquisition and the issuance of expulsion edicts by the Catholic monarchs of Spain in 1492, followed by similar measures in Portugal. Thousands of Jews were forced to convert to Christianity or flee, resulting in one of the greatest and most traumatic dispersions in Jewish history. The exiled Sephardim scattered across many regions of the Mediterranean, including Morocco, Turkey, Greece, Egypt, the Balkans, and even parts of Western Europe and the Americas. Despite the harsh circumstances of exile, these communities succeeded in preserving a cohesive and vibrant cultural identity, adapting to new contexts without severing ties to their roots. Sephardic cultural contributions are vast and diverse. Their distinctive liturgy, with melodies and prayers tracing back to medieval Iberia, the continued use of Ladino, Judeo-Spanish, a language that preserves elements of Old Spanish enriched with Hebrew, Arabic, Turkish, and Balkan influences, and a cuisine rich in spices, olive oil, vegetables, and seafood all form a unique cultural heritage. Ladino music, for instance, is still performed at festivals and concerts around the world, connecting the present to a millennia-old legacy. The story of the Sephardim is, above all, one of resilience, preservation, and cultural renewal. Their legacy not only endures through time, but continues to inspire scholars, artists, and both Jewish and non-Jewish communities around the world. The Mizrahi Jews, a millennia-old legacy from the Middle East and North Africa. The Mizrahi, or Mizraim, a Hebrew term meaning Easterners, are Jewish communities originating from the Middle East and North Africa, with roots that trace back to antiquity. Historically established in countries such as Iraq, Iran, Syria, Lebanon, Egypt, and Yemen, these groups represent one of the oldest and most continuous expressions of Judaism outside the land of Israel. Unlike the Jews of the European and Iberian diasporas, Mizrahi Jews lived for millennia amid civilizations like the Babylonian, Persian, Arab, and Ottoman empires, which profoundly shaped their religious, cultural, and social traditions. This long-standing coexistence led to liturgical practices and customs that, while anchored in Jewish faith, uniquely absorbed elements of the surrounding local cultures. Linguistic diversity is one of the most striking features of these communities. In both religious and everyday settings, it was common to use languages such as Judeo-Arabic, Judeo-Persian, and Aramaic. the latter still preserved as a liturgical language since the days of the Talmud. Moreover, Mizrahi music and dance reflect Arab and Persian influences, expressed in rhythms, scales, and traditional instruments that are now part of the cultural fabric of countries like Israel, where many Mizrahim settled following the establishment of the state in 1948. Despite their long history, Mizrahi Jews were for a long time underrepresented in mainstream narratives about Judaism, which often focused more heavily on Ashkenazi and Sephardic traditions. In recent decades, however, there has been a growing effort to recognize and fully integrate Mizrahi heritage into the cultural mosaic of the Jewish people. This recognition is essential for understanding the breadth and richness of the global Jewish experience. The journey of the Mizrahim is marked by exceptional historical continuity, remarkable resilience in the face of often adverse circumstances, and a profound cultural contribution that deserves greater recognition and celebration. The three major subdivisions of the Jewish people, Ashkenazi, Sephardi, and Mizrahi, are remarkable expressions of the historical, cultural, and geographic diversity that characterizes Judaism. Together, these communities form an identity mosaic built over millennia, shaped by resilience, adaptability, and the preservation of a shared spiritual and cultural heritage, even in the face of the many transformations and challenges imposed by history. Despite the cultural and ritual differences that distinguish these communities, contemporary genetic studies have revealed a common thread, a shared ancestry strongly linked to the Middle East. Research based on mitochondrial DNA, Y chromosome DNA, and autosomal DNA shows that various Jewish groups maintain a significant genetic affinity with modern Middle Eastern populations, such as Lebanese, Palestinians, Bedouins, Druze, Jordanians, and Syrians. This genetic closeness points to a common origin rooted in the ancient territories of Mesopotamia and the Fertile Crescent, the cradle of civilizations and of monotheism itself. At the same time, Jewish communities in the diaspora, particularly those established in Europe, such as in Italy, Germany, Poland, Ukraine, and Russia, display genetic traits that reflect prolonged coexistence with local populations. Studies suggest a more pronounced genetic overlap along maternal lineages, indicating that over the centuries there were episodes of intermarriage, especially through unions with non-Jewish women who were later integrated into Jewish communities. This genetic blending is particularly evident among Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews. In the Sephardic case, such genetic interaction intensified in southern Europe, particularly the Iberian Peninsula and parts of Italy. Among the Ashkenazim, a more diverse genetic composition is observed, with contributions from various European populations, the result of centuries of migration and integration across different regions of the continent. Recent research also suggests that Ashkenazi Jews partially descend from a small founding population, which helps explain the higher prevalence of certain hereditary genetic diseases in this group. These discoveries not only enrich our understanding of Jewish genetic history, but also reinforce the narrative of a people who, though dispersed and shaped by varied local influences, have maintained deep ties to their ancestral origins. The study of these genetic connections continues to shed light on the complexity of the Jewish diaspora, highlighting how identity, culture, and biology intertwine in a continuous narrative of survival and renewal. Genetic studies also indicate that communities such as the Beni Israel and Kochan Jews of India, as well as the Beta Israel of Ethiopia, while showing similarities to the populations around them, also carry genetic markers that point to Jewish ancestry or connections to other Semitic peoples. A particularly emblematic case is that of the Beta Israel, also known as Falasha, whose unique journey continues to draw significant academic and historical interest. Traditionally, it is believed that the Beta Israel descend from the lost tribes of Israel, particularly the tribe of Dan, or in some versions, the tribe of Manasseh. According to historical accounts and oral traditions, their arrival in Ethiopia may have occurred millennia ago, possibly during the reign of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, linking them to ancient narratives deeply embedded in both Jewish and Ethiopian history. For many centuries, the Beta Israel lived in relative isolation in the Ethiopian highlands, preserving distinct cultural and religious practices. Their form of Judaism, shaped by unique interpretations of the Hebrew Bible and influenced by local traditions, developed features quite different from the main branches of global Judaism. This isolation not only solidified their identity, but also led to the development of a unique cultural and spiritual legacy, deeply tied to their ancestral roots. Beyond the diversity found within Jewish groups, whose origins are evidenced through ancient Israelite DNA studies, there are other communities in the region that also share significant genetic connections with the ancient Israelites. Among them, the Samaritans stand out, a group that still exists today. They maintain a substantial portion of common genetic heritage with the ancient Israelites, reinforcing their deep historical and cultural bond with the land of Israel. Modern Palestinians also carry traces of this ancient heritage, stemming from the long-standing Israelite presence in the lands they now inhabit. A 2017 study published in Frontiers in Genetics demonstrated, through principal component analysis, a remarkable genetic affinity between the ancient Levantine peoples and present-day Palestinians, including the Bedouin of the region. In the same year, research published in the American Journal of Human Genetics further confirmed a predominant Levantine ancestry among Palestinians, highlighting genetic continuity between Bronze Age populations and the region's modern inhabitants. More recently, a 2020 study reaffirmed this genetic continuity by revealing connections between human remains from ancient Israelites and Bronze Age Palestinians with contemporary Arabic-speaking populations. These findings underscore a shared and enduring genetic legacy, reflecting the complex historical tapestry of coexistence, exchange, and continuity in the Levant. The Palestinians, like other Levantine peoples, including Druze, Lebanese, Jordanians, Bedouins, and Syrians, along with various Jewish groups such as Ashkenazi, Mizrahi, Iranian Jews, and Moroccan Jews, have been the subject of extensive genetic research aimed at understanding their ancestral origins. In the case of Palestinians and other regional inhabitants, studies show that approximately 81% of their ancestry traces back to Bronze Age populations of the Levant. This genetic heritage is connected not only to ancient Israelites, but also to other Semitic tribes, such as the Canaanites, who were part of the region's ethnic mosaic in antiquity. In contrast, Ashkenazi Jews present a more complex genetic profile. Research indicates that, in addition to the ancient Semitic Israelite component, 42% to 60% of their ancestry derives from European populations, the result of admixture with Germanic, Italian, and Slavic groups over the course of the diaspora. Specifically, the proportion of ancient Israelite genetic heritage among Ashkenazim ranges from 20% to 28%, and in some cases can reach up to 39%. Sephardic Jews, on the other hand, tend to show a slightly higher percentage of ancient Israelite ancestry compared to the Ashkenazim. However, around half of their genetic profile remains similar to that of the Ashkenazi, reflecting significant European influence due to centuries of dispersion and cultural integration. These genetic insights reinforce the complex web of migrations, alliances, and intermixing that shaped the populations of the Levant and the Jewish diaspora, a millennia-old history of movement and adaptation. Mizrahi Jews, who remained in the Middle East and did not undergo intermarriage with European populations, retain a high percentage of genetic ancestry directly linked to the ancient Israelites, exceeding 63%. Among all Jewish communities, the Mizrahi are the ones most genetically connected to the Israelites described in the Bible. Many people ask, which modern Jewish group bears the closest resemblance, both historically and genetically, to the ancient Israelites? And the answer is clear: the Mizrahi Jews. While Ashkenazi and Sephardic communities also trace their roots back to biblical Jews, their genetic proximity is slightly lower compared to the Mizrahim. We hope this video has deepened your understanding of the genetic legacy of the ancient Israelites and their connection to contemporary Jewish groups. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to leave a like and share it with others who are interested in this fascinating subject. May God bless you, and see you soon.